We know about the viral video and alleged racial slurs that cost an HPD officer her street duties. But what is the deeper issue at play? Tonight, we're addressing the unspoken cultural clash between Black and Hispanics. That's coming your way.
It was argument after argument, and the arguments was the exact same argument of, let me lead. You know what I'm saying? It can't be two head of the household.
And in a world obsessed with 50-50 relationships, there are couples out there that make a more traditional approach, with women allowing their man to lead. Is that the key for a successful match? We'll talk about it.
The Isiah Factor Uncensored starts now.
Welcome and thank you for joining us for The Factor Uncensored. HPD officer Ashley Gonzalez has been at the center of many discussions here on The Factor this week. She's been stripped of her police powers after the release of an alleged video of her repeatedly using the N-word. But beyond the badge, this incident exposes a much deeper, uncomfortable truth that few people want to tackle, talk about, even address: the unspoken tensions between the Black and Latino communities. It's a long-standing issue that people have been bringing up behind closed doors.
And I'm like very pro-Latina, but like being pro-Latina is like calling out in our community, and our community can be very anti-Black.
The tension between the Black and Latino community needs to stop, and we need to be the generation to stop it.
And we have multiple questions. What is really driving the wedge between these two groups? How do we fix this? And is this our America? Joining us now, President of Houston Millennials, Ivan Sanchez, podcast host, Dennis Reyna, CEO of Regal Media, Todd Smith, and Texas State Representative Jolanda Jones. Glad to see you all here on The Factor Uncensored. Now, just hearing that officer led us to question, this is more than just about her. This is a problem that we have in America when it comes to the Black and brown divide. So let's begin with you guys, and I want to hear your honest opinion. Do you think this is an issue?
Oh, it's absolutely an issue. I mean, I saw it when I was on the HISD school board, where you had the Latino board members and one ally with them literally fire illegally the Black superintendent. And so it doesn't seem like there's colorism everywhere, but nobody wants to be worse than Black people. And the funny thing is, everyone gets their civil rights because Black people fight for them, but everybody wants to be better than Black people. And you can tell with the video that she sent to her friends, that her friends, I guess except for the one who shared it, are okay with it. She was comfortable talking about it. And you see it now because I think that Trump has just made it okay for people to show their racism. And in this particular instance, it's anti-Blackism. And she doesn't need to have any power. She doesn't need to have a badge. She doesn't need to be the police because she's prejudiced against Black people. And somebody like that is dangerous to us. We literally could end up being on the street dead. So I'm glad they stripped her of her powers. She doesn't ever need to be law enforcement anywhere in the United States or in Texas.
All right, Ivan, let's hear from you. Your thoughts about this. First of all, do you acknowledge there is a problem?
There is definitely a problem, but let me be clear. Making this entire thing about Latino versus Black is totally wrong. This is about the MAGA mindset versus the minority community. I looked at her voting history, and she's a Trump supporter. I mean, are we surprised what's going on here? A couple of years ago...
I don't think it's that simple, though.
A couple of years ago...
Really quick, I don't think it's that simple. I think you have an individual who grew up in the Hispanic community, and she clearly was comfortable in saying that before she became affiliated with a political group.
Well, they're all coming out of the shadows. Let me give you an example. I was one of the only brown kids in my football team with all Black and white football players. My heart was broken after graduation in '06. Fast forward to 2015, 2016, they're all just ranting the most racist shit on Facebook.
We apologize for that. We don't say the S word. Once again, we apologize.
My bad. But look, I have my high school reunion, my 20-year high school reunion coming up, and I'm just going to be very blunt. People have empowered me to use my voice to speak truth to power, and I'm going to confront these folks. They were hiding their hatred for a very long time, so it comes from stemming from their parents giving them this hatred. So there might be a divide because we're not perfect, but we have a lot of work to do.
All right, no more S words, no more F words.
Yeah.
But let's continue this conversation, Tom.
I have another S word that's more appropriate. It's self-hate and the need to be a model minority. I agree with what both of these, with Jolanda and Ivan said. Yes, it's people wanting to be better than black people, but we have a lot of minorities that want to assimilate and be accepted by the majority society, in a majority culture, and they'll do anything to distance themselves from the others. I'm not like this person, I'm not like that group, and that creates the division. We want to show that, oh, I'm better than the black person, I'm better than the Hispanic person, when, like Jolanda said, rights for minorities came from black struggle and from black civil rights. So a lot of us are fighting the same battles, but we're not realizing that we're on the same team to fight racism. You know what I mean? It's going to take all of us coming together, Hispanic, Asian, black, white, to fight racism. And until we stop trying to be that model minority, and until we stop trying to be better than the others, we'll continue to be at odds with each other, and we'll get nothing accomplished.
All right, Dennis, let's hear from you. What are your thoughts?
I mean, my issue with this is Hispanics, you know, who use the N-word feel like they have the right to use the N-word, right? And I think that that's the wrong mindset. There's two versions of it, right? There's the way that this, you know, lady was speaking on her.
What we see there appears to be pure hate.
Exactly. And then there's the way I'm not gonna lie to you, the way I grew up was I'm literally one of 3 Mexicans around a bunch of black friends playing sports. I didn't see an issue saying the N-word because my black friends didn't see an issue with me saying the N-word, right? And I tell this story all the time. I stopped saying it in 2009 after my second child. My second child, both of my kids are both half black. And I had to realize, like, I have to be the one to change it. My black friends weren't telling me to stop saying it. I have to be the one to change it because I have to also teach my kids that whoever is going to use this word is ignorant, right? And I think that it starts there because it's a level of ignorance as a Hispanic growing up that you don't know. You don't understand that this term is so hateful and holds so much weight to it that you have to learn that on your own and say, okay, now I need to stop this.
And really quick, though, I don't want to get just caught up on the N-word. That's an easy conversation. In the last 30 seconds before we go to break, have you seen or experienced hate of black people by other Hispanics? So, that's what we're talking about.
And this was going to go into what I was going to say is my family, right? My family they're all from Houston. They're all from Texas.
Let's hold you there because we want you to finish that story. That sounds juicy. We'll be back with more Factor and our guests. And once again, we apologize for Ivan slipping up. He's hot and all of that. We'll be back. Stay with us. And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. We continue our conversation about the real unspoken tension between the Black and Latino communities.
My family used to have very hateful ways in speaking about black people as I was growing up, right? And as a child, I didn't see, you know, that this was right or wrong. I just saw, okay, this is kind of how my family speaks when they're speaking about, you know, this race or whatever. So as I started getting older, I started realizing like this ain't right. It got to the point that it made me so uncomfortable that I wouldn't even allow my black friends to come to my house because I never knew what my family would say at that point, right? But as I got older, again, I'm the first person to bring a black woman into the household and say, hey, this is who I'm with. I had to start checking things as they're being said. I'm at a party. I don't want to be at a family party worrying about what my family's going to say out of line, out of pocket. And now I have to stand up for not only, you know, the woman that I'm with at the time, but my kids. Like you're not about to disrespect any of them in saying what you're saying at this point.
Was there any rhyme or reason for this hate that your family has?
So looking at my family and then also a couple other Hispanic families that I've grown up with, I think that in Texas, in Houston, there's an issue of Hispanics being what I would call whitewashed, thinking that they're not as bad as black people, they're on the same level as white people. But in reality, certain white people will look at both, everybody sitting here on this panel today and be like, I don't like any of you, right? So I think it's a very whitewashed mentality that a lot of older Hispanics have.
And they call that cultural assimilation. Your thoughts, Jolanda, in hearing the honesty that Dennis has?
Well, so first of all, I agree with Dennis. I mean, everybody is like, yeah, you can sleep with a black person, but don't bring them home to marry them. Don't have no kids with them. Don't do any of that. We don't want that. You're the black sheep of the family. Like literally, I have plenty of friends who are Hispanic who have chosen to be with black people, and their families have literally disowned them. And even within the Hispanic community, there's colorism. They treat the darker skinned Hispanics worse than they treat the lighter skinned because everybody thinks white is right. And it's a problem. And black people, as God would have us, are darker than everybody. So if you go around the world, I experienced it when I lived in Spain. They treated Africans really poorly. They treated gypsies really poorly, who were dark-skinned. So around the world, everyone treats black people like they are evil. And the really crazy thing about us as black people is we always welcome everybody. We always try to bring everybody along with us. And nobody wants to be us. Everybody wants to culturally appropriate. They want big lips. They want big bottoms. They want to have everything like us. But they don't want to be us. And Trump has made it okay. So these people, this isn't something that's new. They've always been anti-black. But with Trump being president, and if he can be anti-black, then they think they can. And I'm really thankful, really, for it, because there's nothing like thinking somebody really appreciates your humanity, and then this time shows you that they don't. So there are a lot of friends that I had in high school. I went to a mostly white high school. I'm not friends with most of them, because they say stuff that's just unacceptable, and I check them because every time I see anti-blackism, I go at it like a heat-seeking missile, because if I remain silent and there's somebody around who doesn't have an opinion and I don't say anything, then they'll think it's okay. And I need to check it.
All right. And Ivan, I've been watching you through the process. Do you feel like you're being villainized here, or some of your people? What?
No, it's time to rip off the scab. I heard what Dennis said. In the family barbecues, it does happen. In the family gatherings, just little comments here and there. But I will say it in advance, in a professional level. I've worked for all black elected officials. And when I'm sent to these other organizations...
That almost sounds like I got all black friends.
No. I'm not going to do that. But hey, look at my record. I worked for 11 years for Sheila Jackson Lee, for Jolanda Jones. And when I go to some of these places, it has been insinuated that I'm already betraying the Latino community.
Oh, wow.
So it is embedded, and it's time to rip off the scab and get better.
And so in the last time we have here, guys, how do you see us bridging the gap, trying to work this out, if at all?
Like Dennis said, you have to check people. When people have racist views, you have to check them. Jolanda would do it, but I think it's better when it comes from somebody in the community, because a lot of times, oh, they're just complaining. Oh, they always, like the young lady said, they just talk about slavery all the time. But when it comes from somebody from your community, I think it holds more weight. So if people of other colors can check anti-black racism, it would do a lot of good, and knowing it's not accepted, because when we do it, we're complaining. But when they do it and call it out, it might be respected a little more.
All right, Dennis, let's hear from you. What do you think the solution is?
The other thing I would say is allow us to be an ally, right? I think that because racial tensions are so high in certain rooms, in certain areas, it does feel like, oh, you know, you're just you're saying that, right? You don't mean what you're saying. You're trying to stand up for black people and your black friends, but you don't really necessarily mean that. Nah, man, I genuinely mean it. Allow me to be an ally.
Got it. Any closing? We've got 20 seconds.
I was just saying that, you know, I tell anyone who's with somebody black, I hope that you love your children and your grandchildren for their humanity. And you better start checking people who are anti-black, because if you have one drop of black blood, your babies and grandbabies are black, so you better start fighting for them. I know you're not going to allow people to treat people that you love like second-class citizens, and that's how people treat us.
All right. We want to thank you guys for a great and honest conversation. We appreciate you here on The Factor Uncensored tonight. Still ahead, we're stepping into the Factor Learning Hub and talking about health insurance. You pay a fortune for it, but what happens when the best doctors refuse to take it? We'll have that complete breakdown coming your way next.
This program is being brought to you by Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer.
And welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. We're in the Factor Learning Hub tonight to discuss a major healthcare shift that's happening right now in America. Highly specialized doctors are dropping out of insurance networks in droves, and it's creating massive confusion for patients losing access to top care. Board-certified surgeon Dr. Stephen Sear is here with why this is happening and what you need to know. He'll have 5 minutes to go over all the important points. Glad to have you here on The Factor Uncensored. Now, this is a serious issue, and a lot of people are concerned about this, doctor.
Sure. It's a scary thing for patients. It's something that people don't understand. And hopefully I can help elaborate a little bit on that and give them some peace of mind.
All right, you're in the hub, so here's your learning board.
Well, I think the number one thing to know is that the majority of people who have insurance have out-of-network benefits. And it's something that you already pay for, and you need to figure out what your benefits are. So we're paying extra money when we have out-of-network benefits for out-of-network care, which means that if you have a doctor who's not in the contracts, that doesn't mean you can't get good care. And in fact, a lot of times, believe it or not, this wasn't the case in the past, but it is the case now since the No Surprises Act passed and started to become implemented in January of 2022. Patients are now potentially paying less with out-of-network benefits, and it wasn't that way before. There was balanced billing where when a doctor was out of network, the bill went towards the care. What wasn't paid by the insurance, the doctor would potentially bill the patient. And so that was really scary to patients. So everybody felt like they had to stay in network to keep the cost down. But what's changed is the No Surprises Act allows doctors to negotiate directly with the insurance carrier, keeping the patient out of it, so that their out-of-pocket cost does not change. And in fact, clinic care, a lot of times the price is lower. So bringing your patients into the clinic with an out-of-network practice, a lot of times you can decide what you're going to charge. And most doctors, the ones that, at least that I know and that I work with, want their patients to pay less, not more.
All right, let's get back to your board.
Yep.
And of course, what you're telling many of the viewers out there, educating yourself on your policy and the options that you have is very important. What else do you have for us on the list?
So you get to choose who you want to see, right? So when you go to a doctor, you don't have to be relegated to the in-network people on your list. The insurance carriers would like you to think you are, and in fact, they'll say, these are the doctors you're allowed to see. So these are the ones you can choose from, but you have the option of choosing anyone you want to. Your insurance company can't dictate how you're going to be treated and who's going to treat you.
Really? I thought you had to follow that list.
Not at all. You can go to whoever you want. Now, even if you don't have out-of-network benefits, this is something patients don't understand, is you can potentially have the doctor negotiate for even gap coverage. So some people don't have out-of-network benefits. Well, the doctors a lot of time have a team of people that can say, we want gap coverage for this specialist because he's a specialist unlike any other in the area.
Okay.
And that's important for patients to understand. The other thing is the No Surprises Act, like I mentioned earlier, the surprise medical bills in the past were scary for patients. They'd go to the hospital, they'd have their in-network doctor like me, I'm an in-network surgeon, I take you to an in-network hospital, and after the fact, the bills start pouring in. And sometimes people were freaking out about the cost, right? So what happens now is that's not possible anymore. The No Surprises Act actually protects patients from surprise billing, which means if I'm doing surgery as a spine surgeon and I use a cardiovascular surgeon to do the approach for me, and I use an anesthesiologist and I use a neuromonitoring company, which I do, a lot of them are out of network. Well, you may get bills that are pretty scary. The number one thing to know is that your bill is not your responsibility, right? Your responsibility is what's negotiated. So when it's in network, it's what your contract says. When it's out of network, it's what the doctor negotiates or their practice negotiates with your carrier. And so you're out of it nowadays. And so now there's a lot more protection for patients. So you shouldn't be scared about the potential of having these surprise bills coming after you, because they don't anymore.
All right. What's on the list next, Professor?
So the last thing is, it may cost less. It doesn't sound like it's possible, but it is. So if your copay when you go see a doctor in clinic is $50 to see a specialist, or $75, that doctor who is out of network may say, hey, I'm not going to charge $75 or $50. I want to charge $30. And I have the right to choose whatever I want to charge my patients, and I'm going to choose to charge the same or less. So a lot of doctors are matching the in-network cost when they're out of network. And then when it comes to surgery, the surgery bill comes and the patient doesn't have any additional responsibility. Again, the insurance company and the doctor, they go to battle, keep the patients out of it, and patients don't have to worry about that stuff. So that's a big relief for patients nowadays.
And Dr. Sear, in the last 30 seconds that we have here, we're telling the viewer to become educated. Is there any easier way than reading that policy?
You have to call and ask your insurance carrier. You have
questions.
You have to ask. I mean, you have to call the clinic. If you pick a specialist, if you have a specialized spine condition, like if I'm going to see you as a spine surgeon, you want me to take care of you, you should call my practice and figure out if I'm in network, and if not, what are my rates, and what is your out-of-pocket responsibility.
All right, Dr. Stephen Sear, out of time. Great job in the Learning Hub tonight, and of course we appreciate your time, and hopefully you guys got the information you need to get the insurance and the care you deserve. Still ahead on The Factor Uncensored tonight, a brand new Angela After Dark. Who should wear the pants in a marriage? Ahead, the debate over men taking the lead and ditching that 50-50 split. Stay with us here on The Factor.
Do you want everything you
Still ahead tonight on The Factor Uncensored, we will get to 50-50 split, but first we will address some hot news coming out of Houston City Council, where Houston City Council voted today on a controversial immigration ordinance. Earlier this month, the council banned HPD officers from extending traffic stops to wait for ICE agents. Governor Greg Abbott immediately fired back, warning he would withhold the city's sales tax revenue unless they changed the rule. Today's revised vote aims to secure that funding while protecting Fourth Amendment rights. Still ahead here on The Factor Uncensored, an all-new Angela After Dark. Plus, we know teachers are completely fed up with classroom disrespect, but did this educator go way too far? An Arkansas teacher allegedly snaps on a student after a dispute over the word bruh. Real teachers weigh in tonight. Keep it here on The Factor Uncensored.
With Popeye's new
You're watching the Isiah Factor Uncensored.
Welcome and thank you for joining us for the second half hour of The Factor Uncensored. It's time for Angela After Dark. And the question is simple. Should men take the lead in marriages? A guest on the Love You More show said she took a step back to save her own relationship. Let's take a look.
It was argument after argument, and the arguments was the exact same argument of let me lead. You know what I'm saying? You can't. It can't be two head of the household. You know. And once I got into my Bible, once I got into my word, it was like, let that man lead. You know, it was the same argument, repeat all the time, the same thing over and over and over. It was us clashing like this. Why? Because I was wanting to run things, because that's what I was taught to do. But then when I realized it was affecting my marriage, and I didn't want to be a single mom, and I wanted my kids to have a different life from me. I wanted them to have a mom and dad in the house. It was like I had to tighten up.
There you go. What do you think? Is this the right approach for other relationships out there? Joining us now to talk about it, Dr. Angela Jones and married couples, Bridget Waugh, and Dr. Tim Waugh, and Nikki Francis, and Peter Long. So, Nikki and Peter, when you hear this lady make her comments, sometimes you got to let the man lead and take a back seat. Your thoughts about that?
I think sometimes that's true for our relationship.
You say sometimes.
Sometimes for our relationship, it wasn't that way. I'm the one that goes out. I make the money. He's at home with the kids. He handles the sports, the household, and I'm traveling on the road, building real estate projects, investing in projects. That's what works for us. And, you know, we have a very great marriage. We're very happy. Our kids are happy, and it's reverse roles in our house, but we love it. You know, it's what makes our household work.
And Peter, were you comfortable with that? Did you have to grow into that role? What?
Yes, I had to grow. But once I looked at her and I said, look at me and tell me you got this. And she goes, babe, I got it. I said, are you serious? Really? And that was the day that I took the role of being a father 24 hours a day. I'm not, a dad partial time, and I'm not saying that all fathers are partial fathers, but some dads go to work 8, 10, 12-hour days. Sometimes they're gone for all week. I'm a dad all day, from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed, folding clothes, making meals. That's my role now.
And Dr. Jones, your thoughts about that? He said he had to grow into it first,
He did.
and he had to accept it.
The thing is it's about what works for your union, right? And also, what is the definition of lead? We have created an assumption that lead means money, and that is not always the case. Lead can be spiritual. Lead can be lead the house into the right direction while she's able to pursue her career. And leading is always defined differently depending on how you view it. I think culturally we have put it in a space of work and money, right? Because here's the thing, I'm pretty sure even though she goes to work and she goes out and does that, he has an opinion and he's able to say, like, no, we're not going to do this and we're going to do that. Correct. You have to be able to take each other's talents and help each other grow in those talents. And he said he had to grow into the role that he had. He probably didn't even realize how much of a talent he had in that space.
All right, Brigitte and Tim, your thoughts about this. We've heard you guys talk about it before, but let's talk about it again. How do you guys decide if there is someone leading, or is it 50-50?
Tim leads. I follow. Point blank, period. And it's easier because I do have that personality where I can leave. I had someone say, yeah, but why are you cooking and all that? You know, you're an entrepreneur, you're a boss, you know, and I said, when I'm outside, when I walk in that door, I'm sweetie. And I like to cook for my husband, so when he gets, I time it just right, so he has a hot meal when he comes home. He's dealing with patients all day. So I want to make sure that the house for him is peaceful. I don't want to lead. I don't want to do that. He does.
And it works for, that works for them.
And it works for us. I am very happy. Go ahead, babe.
So, wait. On that note, so I think really the biggest thing that we're really struggling in when it comes down to society is the ministry of social media or the ministry of faith. And the more we start really talking about, well, what is it as it relates to who leads? Well, the wiring, you know, most of the time, the wiring is that if there's a discussion that needs to be made or there needs to be anything of that decision, who makes that decision? In business, there's a CEO that ultimately is the responsible party. In your home, you still have someone that's going to be that responsible person. So if you're not going to have that, then somebody's got to make a decision or the water gets cut off. But one thing is very clear is that in most cases, there's a plethora of width when you start talking about nowadays how people are talking about what is normally considered an egalitarian partnership as opposed to shared leadership. So what's actually one person's strength may be another person's weakness. So if you are actually allowing the strength that you lead with, you go with. She, you know, I'm not going to say what kind of pot she has, but one thing is very clear: when she cooks, I sit, and it's very clear that I'm being submissive by hey, I'm going to eat what is being presented, and the vice versa. versa of if there's something that we're going to make a decision on or where we need to go, well, then it may be a, hey, what do you think? Well, let's do this. And then I may lead in that. So it's okay, but it works in whatever your relationship in your household.
And how important is it to block out the white noise of social media, trying to influence these couples that are out there, putting things in their ears saying, look, you should do this, he should do that?
I think it's essential for you to understand that social media is entertainment, right? And I know that it's hard for us to like turn off the noise when you are looking at it all the time, but you do have to have a strong faith. You have to have a strong understanding of who you are, right? They're not able to function in the way that they do if they were not strong inside or if they didn't trust one another. I usually compare it to like if you see a tango dance, there's a male and there's a woman. And the male is the one who's actually leading in that space, but who's the one that's shining? Who are you always keeping your eye on? Which is the woman, right? But you're not realizing he is the one that is kind of moving this and telling her what is happening, but no one questions that, right? It comes out to be beautiful because there's a partnership and there's an understanding. So everyone needs to say, this is what works for my home, my husband, my wife, and this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna promote each other's strength, and we're gonna allow each other to shine. And in both of these situations, they all are shining. She's proud that she's able to cook, and I love that because she wants to. He didn't make her do that. Right. She wants to do that, and that's what makes it even more beautiful. So
I think it boils down to mutual respect too. You have mutual respect.
It is very different.
Don't look at social media because that'll get you divorced quick.
Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. Great job, and thank you for sharing your insights. Still ahead tonight, teachers are fed up and classrooms are out of control. But did this educator cross a massive line? We'll have more details on the other side of the break. Stay with us here on The Factor Uncensored.
When you're looking for the biggest...
Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. Anyone who works in education will tell you that the lack of respect in classrooms is out of control. But tonight, we are talking about a teacher who let his frustration go way too far. Matthews is facing a felony aggravated assault charge after he allegedly choked a student at a junior high school in West Memphis, Arkansas. Now, police say it all began. Let's move this along, so this thing's getting stuck. Police say it started when a student told him, bruh, I don't have a computer. Matthews reportedly told the teen to call him sir. But when the student mocked him and replied, my bad, lil bruh, things got physical. Matthews allegedly pushed the student, followed him to the hallway, and choked him against a wall. We all know teachers are fed up, but is this a massive escalation that went too far? Joining us to talk about it, a panel of educators, first class, Tamara Johnson, Jennifer Germany, and Sonny Ewing. Glad to have you all here. So, Sonny, let's begin with you. Your thoughts about what this teacher encountered. Is it unusual what you guys face in the classroom?
No, so this is not unusual at all. I am in a behavior class, so all of these things can happen at any given moment. And we, as teachers, need to have some restraint, regardless. However, as teachers, we
There's
still
that
need...
however.
Yes, because we still need some... A moment to like take a break if needed, because we're still human,
right?
And we can cross over. So we need to step out, take a break. They need to have some setups even at schools where we can say...
What happened to the teacher's lounge? They don't have that anymore?
No, we need a mental...
You don't get your lunch stolen in the teacher's lounge.
Oh,
The lunch
okay.
is stolen.
I'm out of touch.
You're way out of touch.
Yes.
You're way out of touch.
Yeah. But yes, we
go
can't...
ahead, guys, tell me about it.
I'm gonna be honest. If I could think of a theme song for today's educational system, the rock song, "Welcome to the Jungle. We got what you need. We got everything you want." Literally, that should be the theme song to the education system, because it's like there's no boundaries, it's no rules, it's a free-for-all at times. I've been on the other end of what this man has experienced. Now, going to this particular situation, when I saw this happening, the first song came to mind, "You're about to lose your job." and literally, you can lose your job that easily. But when I saw this happening, the first thing I thought was, what happened before this video?
Right.
I had questions. What was the interaction like before this video? I heard on one of the news outlets said, well, this was an isolated incident. Is it an isolated incident that we know of?
Right.
Or on paper, is there something else? Because I just don't see a man just deciding to go WWE crazy on a student because of bra.
Nah, bra is low on the list. From all the things that we've called, I lost weight because I was a fat bee every other day, and I was about to lose my job. Like, there are times where you're in the classroom, and I'm high school. I'm high school. And so when you're dealing with high school students, there are times where you're going to be disrespected. If you cannot handle some type of level of disrespect, then this may not be the field for you. Because where we are now, our students want to be respected first. Before, there's no more, oh, you're 44 years old, you automatically have respect. We're not in that age anymore. You have to give respect in order to get it. And that's what I've learned since I've been in education in 2009 all the way up until now. Those students will not respect you until you give them respect. And you have to have, your pride and your ego in the classroom, and being sir and ma'am and bruh is very low considering what that man could have been called. And I just believe it escalated to a situation. There had to be something. Every teacher would know that there was probably something that happened before the bruh. Yeah. And especially when the kid was walking away, and they say the video where the kid was walking away and then the man kind of provoked him and went after him.
Yeah, he doing
I
too
can
much.
tell you that was way too far. We have to know emotional intelligence has to come into play at some point, because we are adults and we're in this space. So you have to be able to do it. We asked the kids to do it, and then here we are. We can't do it.
But at the same time, I'm a stand your ground type of girl. Because at the end of the day, that classroom, I have to be in charge. If something happens, I have to be in charge. One of the questions I wanted to ask was, how did you start the school year off? You have to establish who's in control, who's the lead, who should follow. And that doesn't mean that I have to be a dictator, but I have to set boundaries. I have to let them know, this is okay, this is not okay. I can allow you for this, but we can't, no, because at the end of the day, teachers are human.
And yeah, that's what I come in on. I think that kids forget that we are human.
Yeah.
And just
as a
being
man,
all ladies up here, I gotta step in and talk to kids all the time, because one thing I don't want to see with my own eyes is especially our black ladies being disrespected in a schoolhouse. Because of course these kids are getting up in age, they're getting a little taller, they're starting to smell like breath a little bit, so they start to approach y'all in different ways. And I feel like as a male, I have to step in and just kind of stop that if I can.
And I was thinking the same thing. We appreciate our males because they do that. They definitely step in for us.
And again, I get to come on here and hang with you, so of course social media is something now, so they get to see that and they respect those things. So sometimes going into the school nature, it is not about what you're saying, it's about what you do.
Yes, I agree with that.
Y'all need a whole new segment.
Come on now.
A second segment, but we're out of time.
That's all
Great
right.
job, teachers. Thank you, guys. Don't go anywhere yet. Don't go anywhere yet. We're hanging out with our neighbors, the ladies behind Fox Soul, scrolling with Jen and V. Keep it here. Welcome back to The Factor Uncensored. They're our favorite, and we had to get them in the house. And tonight we're offering them up with Jen and V. Well, you're not sacrifices, but we're glad to have you guys here. The powerhouse duo behind Fox's Jen and V. Scrolling with them. I told my producer to find some of their best moments. Let's take a look.
Please don't take anything.
Please don't take anything.
Ooh, I love that for y'all. Get your freak on. That's what Missy say. Get your freak on. He got her foot in his mouth.
That is so gross. And my thing is,
got the customer's foot in his mouth.
That better be his woman.
Right.
That came to check on him and roll through his drive-through. That better be his woman. The same person he poking at night. That
right. Why you out here half naked?
Why you going that far?
Oh, in lingerie.
Why you going that far? You must really, you must be good.
Well, she said she was seeing the stars, Jen.
Ooh, I like to see stars.
Scrolling with Jen and V is also celebrating a 1-year anniversary. Jen and V are both here on the Factor on Sense and Sense. Finally, congratulations. You know, I have to tell people I get to hear your stuff live. I'm waiting to get in through your studio.
You in the mix.
Yeah, and I get to hear you guys are incredible.
Yes.
So for people wondering, you know, where did this talent come from? You know, you got to have D'Artagnan Baybell tell the story.
Yeah,
But,
and he's always been the great backup.
Yes.
so you guys have always been behind the scenes here at Fox.
Absolutely.
But our president and general manager would eavesdrop on you guys having lunch.
Yeah,
and he'd
that's
hear
right.
your conversations.
That's right.
And he said, we have to do something with these ladies.
Just over a simple lunch.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like we would watch the rundown of TMZ. And so we would sit at the table. I'm like, V, you see what this is going on?
And I'm like,
how you feel about that?
Exactly.
How you feel about that?
Right. And then Dart will waltz in there, eat his lunch with us common folk.
You know, and be eavesdropping.
Right.
He sit to the front of the lunchroom. We sit to the back.
Yeah.
You know, so
and we just is yapping away.
Not the back of the lunchroom.
He back of the lunchroom. He low-key entertained.
Right.
He low-key entertained. So
we didn't know.
It's just like the perfect moment to have that space with your general manager.
Absolutely.
You know, for him to see the vision and be like, I need to do something.
That's exactly what
I need to do something with that.
And it's been a process, though. It's been a few years.
Oh, yeah.
And he's been looking, and you guys have been looking for the right fit, the right project,
the right
and you
avenue,
finally
platform.
got it.
Yes, we did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We did Facebook Live, doing the Masked Singer.
We tried podcasts.
We tried everything.
Every single
And you know,
thing that you
nothing
can think of.
really, what we say, sticks. So this has been something that, you know, everybody's going through social media all day long. They're in their bedroom at
Millions
night,
of
you know,
people,
going to bed, and before they go into bed, at lunch,
scrolling.
when they're in the doctor's waiting room, you know,
airport,
why
wherever.
not share that with the world and put your own opinion on it?
Right.
As different takes.
And we can just chill at home on the sofa, watch you guys scroll for us.
There you go. Exactly.
We do the hard work for you.
Yeah, there
You know,
you
where
go.
you can sit back, have a drink, you know, relax.
Yeah.
You know, and watch us and just, you know, laugh. And it's something to end your day on a light
Positive
note.
Yeah.
You know, it's so much sadness going on in the world.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely. A lot of
we
going
want to put some uplifting spirits at the end of the night.
I
You know,
call
you
it
go
the
to
great
bed,
escape.
Yeah, you go to bed laughing, smiling, and you know, wake up feeling good at the end of the night. So this has been a great adventure for us.
Yes.
We are so blessed to have it.
Extremely.
Yeah, it's just been like eyes wide open, like, is this really happening? Do we really have a platform on Fox Soul to show us? And I always say,
our natural talent. We love to talk.
What you the chatterboxes, the gin you get on scrolling is the gin you're gonna get
reality.
at home with the family.
Exactly.
And my family, friends, people that I don't even know say, you know, this, you really are the same person, Jen. You're not switching up for nothing.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, well, this is the opportunity to do that in a fun way.
And in the last 20 seconds each that you have here, how has your life changed? Do people recognize you out in these streets?
I got one or two people who had to recognize me. You know what I'm saying? It makes me feel good. I'm so proud of myself, and I'm grateful and everything. I'm like, okay.
It's like people are really watching.
Yeah, they're really watching.
I've had, I went to
I love it.
cookout, you know, and Cerrito was playing, and the lady outside was like fixing like plates.
Yeah.
And she was like, 1, 2, 3. I said, you don't have enough food? What's going on? And she was like, no, I got food, but you? I didn't see you on TV. So and she said, I don't care what you do. I don't care where you, if it doesn't happen in your studio, do it in your garage.
Yeah.
Because you brought me and my daughters back together.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we come together at night.
We
and
love the feedback.
We get food and we're like, hey, scrolling coming on. Let's watch it.
Got it. We want to thank you guys for joining us.
Thank
Really
you
quick,
for
give us
having
the
us.
time.
Thanks.
You're after the Factor nightcap, right?
Yeah,
What time?
You can stream us on Foxhole anytime and YouTube.
So subscribe to Scrolling with Jen and V.
Yeah.
All right.
The times kind of flip flop.
And your Instagram is on screen. Thank you guys for coming. Finally dropping by.
Thank you for supporting us.
Absolutely. We'll be right back. And we want to thank you for joining us here on The Factor Uncensored. And remember, we need those followers on YouTube at Isiah Factor Uncensored. Go there and follow us, subscribe, check it out. We have all of the segments that you may have missed. Also, check us out on social media. And don't forget to download the Foxhole app where you can catch The Factor Uncensored. And also Scrolling with Jen and V. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you back here next time. Have a good one.